What
I know
percent
that.
do you think? What percent? No, answer the question,
Well,
or I am ending this podcast. Answer the question.
I don't know.
Answer what you think.
30%?
It's less than 1%. You know nothing.
Well, waitresses make less than that.
It's still less. Oh my goodness. Yes, but after tip income. It's less than 1%. You know nothing. You're outraged. You're performative. You're a virtue signaling moron. You have prepared talking points and you know nothing about the real world.
That meltdown is why 2 million people clicked. But it's not the disaster. The screaming match you just watched was minute 35 of a political argument that hijacked the first 75 minutes of this episode. The actual money audit got 20 minutes at the very end, and buried in it is the real disaster, a document that doesn't exist. It's the reason she can never leave that van. I read loan files for a living. Let me show you what Caleb skipped. Start with the one fact that makes her different from every other broke guest. She pays $0 in rent, not reduced rent, 0. She lives in a van, on purpose, because the internet told her rent is the reason nobody her age gets ahead. Cut the biggest bill in your life, and the math has to work. That's the promise. And give her this, she actually did it. Most people just repost the meme. She moved into the van and deleted the payment most people her age would kill to escape. And to be fair, the logic sounds bulletproof. The average renter spends about a third of their income on housing. Delete that, and someone earning $60,000 a year should be swimming in cash. $1,500, maybe $2,000 a month freed up. In 5 years, that's over $100,000. That's a down payment. That's the plan she was sold. So with rent at 0, for the price of sleeping in a parking lot, where is all that money? Hold that question. Caleb asked it too. And her answers are where this episode stops being funny. Here's what the audit actually found, from her own numbers. Income, about $60,000 a year, call it $5,000 a month before taxes. Savings after all that zero rent living, about $1,000. Total, no retirement worth mentioning. And on the other side of the ledger, $11,000 of credit card debt. Not $11,000 available, $11,000 maxed. Every card she owns is at its limit. The biggest one alone demands $619 a month as a minimum payment. Add up every minimum payment she owes, and it comes to $1,183.58 every month. Before food, before gas for the van she lives in. Remember, this is a person with no rent. She built her entire life around deleting a $1,200 housing payment, and her debt quietly rebuilt the exact same payment and handed it back to her. She's still paying rent. She just pays it to a bank now, and she doesn't get a bathroom. Before the big reveal, kill one myth. Her housing was never free. A van you live in is a vehicle you're destroying. Insurance, gas. Repairs on a machine that is also your bedroom. Depreciation eating whatever equity she thinks she's building. Campsite fees. Gym memberships for showers. Eating out because a van kitchen is a camp stove. Van lifers who track it honestly report hundreds of dollars a month. She traded a rent bill for a slower, sneakier housing bill and lost her mailing address in the deal. And the address part matters more than it sounds. Try opening accounts or applying for any loan as a person with no fixed address. The system runs on being findable. Every dollar she saved came with a quiet tax. She made herself harder to verify. Keep that word in your head. Verify. It's about to be the whole story. Now, the part almost nobody explains, why maxed cards are so much worse than just having debt. Credit scoring leans hard on one number, utilization. How much of your available credit you're using. Under 30%, you look like someone who borrows on purpose. At 100%, you look like someone drowning. It's roughly a third of your score, and hers is pinned at the worst possible reading. Same income, same person, but on paper, she's radioactive to every lender in the country. And that $619 minimum? Watch what it actually does. On a maxed card at a typical store card rate, most of that payment is interest. The balance barely moves. Pay minimums forever, and you're not paying the card off. You're renting the debt. Which brings back the thing I flagged at the start, the missing document. Everything so far, the maxed cards, the minimums. A lender can at least read those. The real problem is the thing a lender can't read, because it was never created. And run the treadmill math for 1 year. $619 a month, 12 months, that's over $7,400 out the door. And at the end of that year, the $11,000 balance has barely flinched. That's the machine she strapped into. Zero rent on one side, and a bucket with a hole in it on the other. Here's where I stop reacting and tell you what I actually do. I'm a licensed loan officer. Files like hers cross my desk every week, and the first read takes about 30 seconds. 3 numbers. 1, utilization. Hers is maxed, so the score is on the floor. 2, debt to income. She owes $1,183 a month before she borrows another dime. Against $5,000 of gross income, that's nearly a quarter of her paycheck spoken for, before housing, before a car, before anything a normal life requires. Run her through actual mortgage math. Lenders generally want all your debts, housing included, under about 45% of gross income. 45% of $5,000 is $2,250. Subtract her existing minimums, and there's barely $1,000 a month left for an entire mortgage payment: principal, interest, taxes, insurance. In most of the country, that buys almost nothing. So even ignoring the credit score, the van isn't a stepping stone to a house. Mathematically, it's a holding cell. And before you file this under her problem, the 30-second read happens to everyone. Every mortgage application, every car loan, every apartment with a credit check. You never meet the person who reads your file, and they never meet you. The file speaks first, and usually the file speaks last. Which is exactly why what she did, or rather what she never did, is so much worse than a maxed out card. Now the counterexample, because this should sting. Take the same $60,000 income, give it to someone boring, they rent a room, cards under 30%, 2 years of filed tax returns, that person qualifies. With minimal debt, $60,000 a year supports roughly $250,000 of mortgage, and an FHA loan needs 3.5% down. On a $250,000 condo, that's under $9,000. A number you can actually save in 2 years, from a bedroom, not a van. Same paycheck, 2 completely different lives. The difference was never the rent. It's that one file is readable and one file is a crime scene. And I keep saying file for a reason. A mortgage file is just proof. Proof you earn, proof you pay, proof you exist on paper. She's missing the proof that outranks all of it. Not damaged, not late, missing. Here's the part 2 million people watch fly by at minute 101. She has never filed a tax return. Not last year. Not ever. That is the document that doesn't exist. And in lending, that's not a red flag. It's a wall. Tax returns are how income becomes real. No returns means no verifiable income. No verifiable income means no mortgage. Not a worse rate, not a bigger down payment, no. From any lender, every path out of that van runs through a document she has never created. And it's worse than locked doors because the meter is running. The failure to file penalty is 5% of the tax owed per month up to 25%, plus interest on top, and the clock that limits how far back the IRS can reach. It never starts until you actually file. Skip filing, and there is no statute of limitations at all. Every year in the van, the invisible bill compounds. She thinks she opted out of rent. She actually opted out of having a paper trail. And the paper trail is the whole game. One more twist. If taxes were already withheld from her paychecks, some of those unfiled years might not be bills at all. They might be refunds. Money the government owes her. But you can only claim a refund for 3 years back. After that, it's forfeited, gone forever. Read that again. While she was skipping rent to save money, she may have been quietly donating her own refunds to the IRS. So the fix, in the only order that works. First, file all the missing years this month. A tax professional can pull her wage records and rebuild every return, and the penalties only grow with delay. Second, kill the utilization. Every spare dollar onto the smallest card until the balances sit under 30%. Scores recover faster than people think. Third, and only third, save. 2 years of filed returns plus clean cards, and the same file I would decline today becomes one I could approve. She's not hopeless. She's unfiled. There's a difference. 2 million people watched her get yelled at about chips and minimum wage. The real story was a piece of paper. Would you have caught it? And honestly, is your own file readable right now?